Good morning. So the current project that we're working on is the Bothell Community Skate Park project, right? So what we have is a 18,000 square foot skate park with a potential 11,000 square foot area covered by an 11,000 square foot roof. Currently, we have about $1 million donated by Rosemary McAuliffe to cover the park. There's another $1 million that has been approved through city levy that has been approved to go towards the park. There was a YAF grant with a $750,000 value that was potentially approved, which I've yet to hear from. However, what's happening is recently, well, over the times, many times we've been told, and especially me, I've been told to my face, that making changes to the park is past the opportunity. And then that opportunity has changed. And here we are once more, about a fourth time, maybe third time, where we need to potentially change the design because it sounds like there is a chance where the roof may be outside the realms of possibilities due to affordability. I definitely foresaw this as being a problem. They've talked about doing it in the future, and as a lot of us know, that getting that phase approved and having a roof done in the later period is really difficult to do. One, because zoning's changed. Two, materials change, which means a lot of prices and deliveries change. Take for example, the tariffs happening right now. Something drastic like that is going to have a huge impact on something like this. So it's really important for any skate park design to have a roof out the get-go, in my opinion. And this is also an opinion developed off of lots of experience in the community and around a lot of projects like this. So what's happening is we have a pump track in the back that's about probably 7,000 square feet, and then we have a bowl in the middle that's about roughly 7,000 square feet, and then we have a street park area that is about 4,000 square feet. Now, the bowl it's a cool bowl. It's a really, really cool bowl. The original thought on this park is that people really wanted it to include something that was designed expressing kind of how Bothell used to be. Now, if you look at the old Bothell skate park, the original Bothell skate park was a wooden park. A lot of people liked it. A lot of people love wooden skate parks. Now, an argument there might be that the wooden skate park might not last a long time, and it could deteriorate over time. And yeah, that's true. However, for one, if you put a roof over it, it maintains it quite well. Also, if you have a city that cares about their park and keep it up, and if you also have a potential connection with community where a community member or a community business can come in and also maintain it and repair it, either as a third party or a collaborative party with the city, it opens a lot of doors for some really cool opportunities for changes in the park, ongoing changes that could also be funded by the community. So, and kind of rewinding back, so I think it would be really interesting, versus having this big pump track that's uncovered, having a expansive bowl that's covered, and then having a street park that's partially covered. I think it's really important to have a park, especially one that's a roof, where it allows a lot of consistency. In order to see a sport grow, you have to have consistency. And without a roof in the Seattle area, the Washington area, or most of the countryside, with the heat that we get here, the rain that we get here, which creates about a 70% difficult times of the year where it's hard to skate because of those seasonal factors. So by guaranteeing a roof, you create a lot of consistency, and that opens a lot of growth. So back to growth. When you need youth, right? So you need a lot of youth to be involved with the sport in order to grow it. Now, when you have a big bowl like that, it can be good for the youth. For example, Skate Journeys is a company that that we're familiar with and we work with, and they use a Crossroads Bowl for their camps. However, it's really deep, and when people aren't there to monitor or supervise, it's very easy for people to get injured down there and be forgotten or not be seen. So it could lead to some potential issues with youth. And a lot of youth, unless there are camps there, it's really difficult to monitor it and have the youth be challenged enough to want to go down in there, especially if there's no access to get down and out. So I think the park design is a really, really cool design. I think there is a lot of money going into it. It's a $2 million skate park. Adding the roof to it is an additional $2.3 million. So we're talking a lot of money. I think, in my opinion, in my experience, based off of being a skater in the Seattle area for about 30 years now, I'm a native here. I've traveled the world. I've traveled the country. I've seen what other countries have for communities to skate. I've skated in these areas. I've talked to other communities. I've skated side by side with a lot of these skaters. And so I think what's really important is allowing more space that is available for youth growth, for beginner to intermediate. Now, they wanted this park to be a world-renowned park where people will travel to it all over the world. Unless we have a roof, I really foresee that coming short of it. For example, Lake Stevens, we went to a Rotary meeting, and their purpose was to create a big, beautiful park, and which they have, and it's skated quite a lot. But without the roof, they don't really have the competitions and the events that they were looking to have, and they now have discovered this as a problem. So with a $2 million skate park and a $2.3 million roof, and the roof potentially not being a thing, you're going to have another huge skate park in the Seattle area. We have a lot of skate parks in the Seattle area, in the Washington area, and a lot of them just don't go used a majority of the season. What's really important is we get this roof. I propose that we shift funding and funding priority to guarantee the roof versus guaranteeing the skate park. In order to do that, I think we could simplify the skate park by a pretty heavy amount. What we could do is maybe even keep the pump track. Basically, I don't want to say start from scratch, but for the let's say to start from scratch for now, we'll flatten the bowl, flatten the street park, where the bowl is, cut it in half, and the half that's closest to the pump track, you can create an area that is similar to, say, Bellevue Indoor or Altogether Skate Park, that has either a concrete street section, add in a wooden half pipe that really resembles the original Bothell skate park, which is what a lot of focus was creating some kind of skate obstacle or area that basically replicated what Bothell used to be. And Bothell, people know Bothell as having a wooden half pipe, and a half pipe really is kind of it's a huge learning aspect. With a half pipe alone, you can become an incredible skater, and you don't need these huge obstacles to be a great skater. Advanced skaters don't need huge obstacles. Advanced skaters just need a good park with good flow, and that's really kind of it. Now, by having this flatter space, right? So now we're still left over with about, say, 8,000 square feet. If you have a rectangular area with a flat kind of roller rink area space to it, designated for roller activity, roller sports, you really open the realm for beginner spaces. Take for another example, pedal head. I didn't want to say pedal heads, but it could be wrong right now. Pedal heads. So Marymore Park, the bikers come out there. They teach the youth kids how to skate or bike around in a flat open space. And same with skateboarding. Skateboarding, you use a lot of flat spaces, and you can use some small obstacles. And same with rollerblading, scooter. It all goes the same. You just need cones. Cones and flat space are a perfect stepping stone to beginner activities. And then you move up to a pump track from there, and then you move up to ramps. So I think by having a flat open space, you create a lot of open doors for a much larger, broader realm of communities to use the space. You also allow the possibility for, your regular community member that might not skate to use this space. Perhaps if somebody's not skating it, they could play, a short game of soccer if they wanted to. Now you also have hockey, right? If you can have a small hockey tournament or a small hockey game in a short space, that also, hockey is a massively growing industry in the Washington area, as we know. We have the Kraken, we have the Everett Silvertips, and we have many more. We have the teams down, the Thunderbirds down there, and spaces like this, our ice arenas and our hockeys is a really heavy thing. Now, you also have rinks that are closing left and right in the Washington area. Not because it's not popular, but because the space is so outside of the affordability that they have to close their doors. We've lost Tacoma World Roller Rink. We lost one up north, and then we're losing the Marysville Roller Rink here in about 2027. And Linwood Roller Rink is one of the few places that we have, and El Centro, which is notoriously famous because that's where Polo Ono practiced at. So you start with a flat space, and I think it also creates more of a broad spectrum for funding and possibilities there. If you have a half pipe, you fulfill the replication of the Bothell Skatepark. You could still have a grind line build the pump track in the back, or get rid of it, and maybe simplify that a little bit. You could also add a small street section in the back near the half pipe as kind of the middle ground. And all of this drops that $2 million funding for the skate park, and quite possibly probably cuts it down to about $1 million. Frees up, and that extra $1 million to cover the roof. Now you only really have to cover about $1 million, 1.3 for the roof. Or you could also simplify the roof, horse stadiums. Horse stadiums have these roofs that are pretty affordable in a good space, and it's about that size. So yeah, and if you guys want to look up a couple of places that I've kind of envisioned as this design, Skatebird in Miami, Florida is a great example of a concrete skate park that uses skate cams and has an ongoing community because it's covered in a space that's both hot and rainy a majority of the year. And then you kind of mash together like this Skatebird Miami mixed with a little bit of Bellevue Indoor Skate Park mixed with Southgate Roller Rink, and I promise you have this park that is going to open the doors for some mind-blowing activities and coexisting between both roller activities and foot traffic. And not to mention, to the very end, the city could do this flat space when the roller community is not using it in the summertime or on the different weekends. They could use it for a market space. Now you have covered market areas. Now you're also opening profitability for the city and all of that. So yeah, I think that's about it. I'm happy to give more people detail. If you have more questions, reach out to me. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to this point yet, but click the link below and I'll try and put some links in there for the plans for the current design. Yeah, thank you for listening to this.